Pachow. Padow. Pachow. So I'm not really sure why I'm doing knife reviews. I'm not a knife guy, but I've wound up with a few knives that I've had emotional feelings about, I guess. And I've decided to do some reviews on them. The last two, one was my new everyday carry CRKT, Columbia River Knife and Tool. Yeah, CRKT M16 right there. And then there was a big K-bar knife. And now we're going to talk about this Gerber One Flip. So this was actually on my short list of everyday carry knives until I got it. And and actually before I got it, I decided I didn't really want it. It's, from this view, the profile, I think it's a pretty cool looking knife. And I have a thing for flippers, and I really like this flipper for a couple of reasons. One, you can flip it. Two, it keeps your finger from sliding up on the blade, and I'm a big fan of that. There's other ways to achieve that, or I should say there are other ways to achieve that. And then three, especially with liner locks and frame locks, you can put your thumb or finger right up under that flipper, and then whenever you release it, never mind that. That's never happened before, but it's because of the weird angle I'm holding this to look at the camera LCD and use the knife at the same time. So they call it a one flip for more than one reason, apparently. But you can actually wedge your thumb or your finger under there, and when you release it, it can't close on your hand. It can only close to right there, and then you can let go and go ahead and close it. Okay, so I like flippers for those three reasons. And this Band-Aid on my finger is not due to a knife accident. I have cut myself before, but not recently. And it's completely unrelated. But I bought this on clearance at Walmart. I was just looking at knives after I decided not to go with this. I still thought it looked pretty cool, but I didn't really want it because it's too wide and it's too heavy for an everyday carry knife. It's substantially heavier and wider than this M16. So I decided not to go with it. But I saw it on clearance. My son and my daughter were there, and my son was like, "Man, I like that knife. I'd like it." And I noticed when we were sitting there looking at it, you can see this right here. Somebody dropped it. That didn't bother me too much, but it was on clearance for half off. So I said, you know, would you like that knife? I wouldn't mind you having a decent knife, something other than just a regular old pocket knife. And he said, yeah, I'd like it. So we bought it. It was $15 plus tax. Normally on like Amazon, these run, or other websites, they run for around $35. As soon as I got it out to the car and unboxed it, I was happy that it was half off. I would have been mad if I paid full price for this. And I don't do a lot of negative reviews because I tend to find that most of the things that I use enough to review at all, the things I don't like about them wind up being personal preference, not anything, deal breaking. In this particular case, I don't see a lot of usefulness of this knife. So, first of all, the flipper doesn't work that well. Unless you can get a wrist flick in there, it's not going to open all the way. So, I mean, maybe if you've got a really super quick thumb or forefinger, went out of focus there, but you can get it to happen. My son's been practicing with it. It's kind of funny because he, it's better. We lubed it. We put some dry lube down in there and worked it. So it's getting better, but out of the box, it is not as easy to flip as this one. And this doesn't have any kind of assisted opening. It's just low friction. And this is a pretty straight flipper, so you can get a lot of leverage on it, where this one's pretty straight too, but there's not as much of it sticking out as what you'd think, especially with the fat handle like that. I mean, that's a pretty big grip. It's definitely getting better. The other thing is this liner lock gets stuck, and that's getting better too as we wear it a little bit. But it was to the point where like I had trouble if I opened it gently early on. If I opened it gently, I could unlock it. But if I flipped it out, you had to press really hard to get that to pop over. So my son had a lot of trouble doing it. So those are two reasons I really didn't like it. You can't move the clip, which a lot of knives are that way. But so that's not a huge deal, but you can't move it. And what else? It seems like there was something. Oh, it's just the size and the weight of it. It's substantially more, or at least feels like a lot more than this CRKT and a lot of other knives. So I wound up doing a bunch of research on knives and kind of eliminating this one after it being one of my initial favorites. I eliminated it and there was a Kershaw in this one, and I think one other knife that I kind of liked. And so it anyway, I'm glad that I eliminated it from my EDC, because it's just this is a fairly big knife, and I went with this bigger one because the clip can be moved, and it can go on any of the four corners, so to speak. I haven't moved it yet, so but I've been very happy with this. So much lighter and just feels better in the hand than the Gerber One Flip. This Gerber One Flip, to be honest, my dog's down here like sniffing around. The One Flip is just, to me, it's too wide and too bulky and too inefficient to be used as an EDC knife. So, and if you look at these, I've got a longer blade on this CRKT. The handle length is roughly the same. It's a touch longer. But this thing is wider and heavier by a long shot. The liner lock sticks a bit. This is a frame lock, so it's basically the same, just a little bit different. I think the blade's a tiny bit thicker here. It might just be because of how they profiled the back of this. I think I got off screen there. I'm sorry. Sorry, guys. You'd think with me standing in an awkward position to keep an eye on the screen, I'd be able to keep an eye on the screen. But anyway, I don't think it's as good of a knife. I think that there are a lot better knives out there. And so for $35, this was less than $35 on Amazon. And you can get them cheaper elsewhere, I think. There's also a smaller one that's like 20 bucks. That's just barely smaller and doesn't have a movable clip. It's a great knife. So for 20 bucks, you can get a really slick knife that's really low friction. This stuff, I think some people don't like them because they're a little bit higher drag. But if you want a flipper, this one or its little brother are probably the way to go. Of course, there's other options too. But let's compare these really quickly here. Let me zoom out just a touch. So I don't know what the specs are on these. Let's just see what my posted scale says. So we got 3.7 ounces. Okay. I had to read that it should be ounces. I knew it should be ounces. That's not an exceedingly light knife necessarily, but it's okay. So we've got 1.2 ounces more. That's not terrible, but when you're talking about less than 5 ounces, an entire ounce plus some is substantial. You know, that's 20% plus increase in weight. So the bigger thing for me is the width. So lengthwise, these are about the same. Let's get the straight edge out real quick. And this is in, as my friend and coworker says, these are in freedom units. So let's flip that around. So closed up, we've got 4 inches. That's going to be like 4 5/8. A touch over 4 5/8 closed up. This should be a tiny. It is substantially shorter, I guess. This is just under 4.5, so that's going to be. Oh, that's going to be a 32nd under 4.5. So this is actually shorter in your pocket. And this isn't the most accurate way, but that's a short quarter over 8 inches. So 8 and a short quarter. And this is 7 and a sorry, I just needed to make sure it's lined up there. 13/16 I think is what that is. So so we get a lot more for a little bit extra length in the pocket. We get a substantially longer knife. Now, I don't know, that stat probably doesn't matter to a lot of people, but for me it just speaks of efficiency and higher quality build. So there's some parallax going on there, but you can see that it's a little bit more efficient use of space there with the CRKT. Anyway, I'm not trying to bash the Gerber knife that much. It is just not that well built of a knife. It's not a terrible knife, but for $35 you can do way better than this guy. Honestly, $15 is the absolute most that I would pay for this knife. So I'm happy that I didn't pay any more. My daughter actually wants the blue one. They've got a really pretty blue one with like a stainless steel blade, and she really wants that. She thinks it's cool. And if she wants it, you know, whatever, we could do worse, but I don't know that I'm ever going to find the blue one on clearance. So at some point somebody's going to have to buy her a $35 knife that's not worth 35 bucks. This, I think, is definitely worth 35 bucks. This is barely worth 15. I think that's all I have to say about it. So I'll go ahead and shut it down so that I don't ramble more than any other time. Say hi, buddy. Say hi. Say hi. He's been patient. He just wants to play. Lay down, buddy. Lay down. Yeah. Good boy. Alright. Can you say bye? Can you say bye right here? Right here? Up here? No. He's confused. Alright. With that, I will sign off. Once again, as always, guys, thanks for watching. Don't cut yourselves.